Welcome to another episode of the Relief Podcast. Today's episode, he started out as a marketer, but he's not just a salesperson. He leads communities. He leads a podcast. He's a wholesaler. He's someone who's open to learning. Kai, welcome very much to the podcast, and share a little bit more about yourself before we begin.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Thanks for having me, Demetri. Excited to be on here. And I love what you're doing with the podcast, man. So yeah, I really appreciate you having me as a guest. But yeah, my name's Kai Logue. I'm originally from right outside of Boston, Massachusetts. Currently live in San Antonio, Texas, which is a great move for me. Love it down here in Texas. But yeah, so I'm a wholesaler. We do marketing. We have a CRM company for wholesalers. We have a podcast for wholesalers. We have wholesalingsyndicate.com, which is a training resource, free groups. So yeah, all about learning, like you said, trying to become the best version of myself and help others do the same.
Yeah, I mean, what inspires you to kind of keep adding to your talent and to refine your craft?
I'm really just trying to be the best version of myself. I mean, every day is trying to get a little bit better. Like, you're not growing, you're dying. So just every day, just trying to look for ways to get a little bit better and just have that mentality and just try to kill the ego and just know, like, hey, there's always another level and there's so much more to go. So I like how Ed Mylett says it about, when you die, you go to heaven trying to meet that elite version of yourself and trying to be as close to that person as you can be.
No, definitely. And it's something like I'm a fan of you, of your growth and, how you've advanced in the journey from being like a humble student to like becoming the master. Like I think, the many books that we all read, whether it be for 75 Hard or just for, like you said, to become the ultimate version of ourselves, is Musashi's 5 ranks, right? That strategy of mindset and being. So like, which one tip from that book would you say would be helpful or has been helpful in your journey, would be helpful for anyone starting out or struggling in their current leg of the entrepreneur journey?
So that's a tough one. So yeah, I do like 5 rings. I actually just read that recently, I think last year for the first time. That went super deep into his life. I think for me, just going into his life and just like kind of getting more of the backstory and just, he was such like a crazy character. Just like he was someone just really pushed the boundaries, completely different sword fighting technique, was like killed a man, I think like 14 or something for the first time. And just his whole life was born, just like fought people with like such crazy stats. He won more duels than anyone else. And just having that mindset that like, you could die tomorrow. So like, yeah, I'm going to be the best version of myself I can and, fight any challenger. And yeah, that was crazy inspiring. And yeah, dude definitely had a crazy life.
No, definitely. And I think, obviously we're killers in a different sense, like in terms of resiliency, adaptability, and flexibility. Right. And I think that's where I see some parallels with you, is that never give up spirit. Like being willing to have a conversation with someone who's done hundreds of deals when you've done a handful. Right. To say, you know what, I'm not at your level yet, but I'd like to be there.
Right.
Like talk about that importance of having humility as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I think it's almost like a dichotomy. So it's balance. You have to have confidence in yourself, but also be humble. Just know you have a long way to go. Some for me it helps is doing jujitsu. Just finally got back into doing jujitsu again, but doing martial arts, anything like that, just like having that some area, whether it's a hobby, whether it's your job, just knowing that you're not the best. There's always gonna be somebody better than you, but just trying to be better than you were yesterday. It's really the biggest thing for me. Cause I mean, there's like, no matter what, there's always gonna be somebody better. You're always gonna get a little bit older, maybe a little slower. There's somebody coming up behind you and there's somebody who's been training a lot longer than you, and just having those reference points and just competing against yourself as opposed to trying to compete against another person.
I mean, is it like, do you have a vision for like where you are currently, that you would be in a place where not only do you have a leading podcast, but you also host events, and then you have, you're a power team, right? Your great wife, Bree, who I've met a few times, also has a leading podcast and also works with you in the business. So what's it like to kind of have this dynamic duo where you're both leading the charge in all the efforts that you do?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I couldn't ask for a better life partner and business partner. I think my whole life changed when I first met her, and it's been getting better ever since. So I think it's really important once you find those right people to keep them close and value them. Growing up, I kind of had a lot of struggles, adversity, and there was, first person I felt that actually cared about me and loved me was her. And I met her when I was 18, and we've been together ever since. And yeah, it's been crazy being able to grow together and always keep growing, and just having someone who has growth is a core value of mine, it's a core value of hers. So it's huge that we both have that. And one piece of advice I'd have for people, as far as if you're big into self-development, you're improving yourself, and you might feel like your spouse or your partner isn't keeping up, you just know there's a lag time. If your whole life you haven't been doing shit and you haven't been keeping the promises you made to yourself and you haven't been operating integrity, and they've seen you do that, they're the closest person to you, you can't expect, you go to a seminar, you read a book or watch a YouTube video or whatever and be like, today's the day I change. And that very well could be it. All it takes is a decision, but you can't expect your partner to change overnight as well. So just know that there's a lag time, but if you keep consistently doing the work and you keep growing, and if you're with the right person, they're going to want to level up and grow too.
No, I think that's beautiful to have patience, right? To have expectations, but to also have patience. And that's another skill set that is helpful not only in life but in business, right? I mean, a lot of times in the work that you do, right? You don't know what the situation is until people share with you, and you have to be empathetic, compassionate, and actually care. Now, there's people in this business who are full sharks, who can put on the mask of like someone who talks to your grandma, and then there's someone who's just the same to all people, right? And so one great quality among many for you is that you're consistent, right? You're empathetic, and you have the same approach with every seller. It's just getting to understand that. So talk about the importance of listening when you ask a question.
Yeah, I think it's the most important thing. I like the saying that you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you should be listening twice as much. And honestly, I think you should probably be listening more than that. When I'm in my sales process, when I'm talking to someone in general, I want to be doing 80% of listening and 20% of the talking. It goes back to the 80-20 rule. And really when you listen, there's another saying, I forget exactly what it is, I'm probably going to butcher it, but when you're talking, you're only talking about things you already know. And when you're listening, you can learn something new. And you can't learn something new if you're doing all the talking. So I feel like that's the most important part. I think especially with sales and anything in business, your job's to, almost be a detective and like discover who this person is, what's important to them, where they're looking to go, and if you can even help them. Because if you can't, you shouldn't do business with those people. But if you can't help those people, you owe it to them, you owe it to yourself to do everything you can, still operating with integrity and ethics to make sure that you get them to make a decision, and whether it's to do business with you or not, but hopefully to do business with you so you can help them get there. If you're certain what you're selling has value and you know that you're going to follow through and actually help them, you owe it to them and you to do that.
No, definitely. I mean, the word is everything, and like you said, you're not going to change your company name tomorrow. You're not going to change your name tomorrow, right? It's to you, right? And talk about having honor not just to the client, to the potential seller of a property, but to our fellow wholesalers, because it's a small community, even if it's a big country and a big world, right? Talk about the importance of just maintaining integrity in our league of real estate investors.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, it's big. It's not as big as most people think it is, though. It's word gets around. You only get one reputation. It takes quite a long time to build it, but you can literally kill it overnight. So just have that long-term game and plan, and just know, like, maybe you only are motivated financially, or maybe that's the most important thing to you. But don't blow what could be a whole career or a whole lifetime of business or potential deals you could do with someone, because I think it's a team sport, real estate. So I think you can always be doing deals with someone, but if you burn the bridge with one person, just keep in mind that the word's going to get around, and you do that a couple times. There's people you're going to have a track record of not operating with integrity and not being somebody wants to do business with, and it's not going to work for you. It's just one. This is not. You'd make, like I said, if you were more motivated financially, just think you're going to make way more in the long run doing multiple deals with people and having a good reputation than you are by burning the bridge and trying to get as much as you can off just one deal. And just know you're going to make a lot more of the long run. And one, it's just a better way to live your life and sleep at night, and know that you're actually providing value and helping people. So I think it's huge, and reputation's important, and you need to guard it with your life.
Absolutely. And then it's how you cultivate a community, right? How you're able to have events, right? I've been to one of your events, and what I really like about your events is that they're cohesive, right? There might be some people in that crowd that are not for you, but for the most part, you can go up to someone and say hello and have a few minutes. So how do you go about building that culture of community?
Yes, I think it just kind of happens organically. I think when you start to share, especially we have social media nowadays, and everything's online. If you start to like share who you are, know who you are, I guess the first step's to know who you are, what your core values are, and what's important to you, and then operate within them. And, people are watching you. So if you don't, if you make, one post, about, hey, I'm, getting in shape, my health, fitness, important to me. Next day, make a post about eating a full cake or a whole pizza or something like, you're not operating integrity. So it's, you have to be that person. You have to know maybe that's not your core value. That's fine. But just find out what your core values are and then actually just live by them and share with them. And you're going to attract people who have those same core values, and you're going to attract people that have that. Word spreads, like goes back to having, it be a much smaller community that we think, because, for a while, I'm like, I don't think anyone knows who I am, but, some mentors, I'm like, oh, you have a reputation. People know you, I've heard nothing but good things about you. And I feel like to me, that's the nicest compliment on that people are saying nice things behind your back.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not just that, it puts fuel back in your tank when you hit those calls when you don't feel like it, right? Like, talk about how you handle rejection.
Yeah. So to be honest, I don't like it. Nobody likes it. It's something I've always struggled with, especially when I was first starting out in sales, but you just got to not take it personally. And like, it's okay to be frustrated or upset for a second, but it's not okay to let that ruin your whole day or to ruin an hour or, more than a minute. Like, so just know it's cool. It's part of the game. It's going to happen. And you're going to get a lot more no's than you are yeses, and just realizing it's part of the game. One of the books I really like on the subject it's called Go for Now. It's a network marketing book, and but it's super valuable tips and super valuable mindset shift, and just thinking that like you're going for no's and you're actively know that once you go through so many no's, you're going to find a yes. And knowing that sales is really one of the biggest parts of sales is just disqualifying people that aren't ever going to do business with you or aren't your ideal customers, and then moving on them quickly so you can find the right people. So I just know that if you're not the right person, great. I'm trying to get off that call as quickly as possible. I will still be professional so I can get on the next call and find the person who actually does need my help and who doesn't want to talk to me.
Right. And, like you mentioned earlier about being a detective, a lot of times people don't want to share their motive. They don't want to share their pain. They don't want to share that they're not earning income, that somebody in their circle's health is not good, or if the sooner they sell, the sooner they can be closer to the person they care about. How do you go about uncovering people's motives when they're kind of buttoned up and hiding?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So really the best way to do that, to uncover people's motive is one, it's really active listening. If you're just yesing people, they feel like you're reading off a script because you haven't practiced or prepared enough, and that like you just sound like you're not listening, you're just waiting to get your next word in on the conversation. They're not going to want to open up to you, because like, why would they want to tell you what they're going through if you're not even fucking listening? But I think a lot of people do want to be heard. They do want to share that stuff. They just want to know that, one, you're going to be empathetic, and two, that, you're actually listening. Because I mean, when you're going through shit, I mean, I've been through some shit, and like, it's tough not having anyone to talk to you. And, a lot of people open up to me just because I'm there. I keep professional, but honestly, I'm curious. I want to know. And then just asking different ways. A lot of times people ask a question, they don't get the answer, and then just, they'll move on, and they'll totally miss it. And which is the worst thing you can do, because literally the most important thing you can do on that call is to find out their motivation, again, find out what's going on, find out where they want to go so you can help them get there. But one analogy I like to use and share with people, because I'm guilty of it myself, but if you're ever in like a retail store, you're at Best Buy or whatever, and I've had it in my experience, I've done this a bunch of times, but somebody comes up to you like, hey, how can I help you today? Or what do you need help with? Like, no, I'm good. And there's been times I actually needed help, but it's just like a reflex. People are so used to just say, no, I'm good, or whatever, just brushing it off. And then after, it's awkward. I don't want to go back to, actually, I do need help. Yeah, I lied, so, but make sure you're asking multiple times, because they came back again, saw me lost, like, hey, are you sure? Can I just like point you in the right direction? And just asking that question differently. Just like, even though it's the same question, rephrase it, word it a bit differently, and they'll get the answer. Sometimes I have to ask 3 or 4 times, but they'll give me the answer as long as I just keep asking and I'm more persistent. Sometimes they won't, but like 90% of the time they will.
Well, that's good, because, time kills deals, right? And, you want to be able to save them from that foreclosure so it doesn't go on the record. You want them to kind of leave with a little bit of dignity and likely some money out of their pocket, or at least kind of wash their hands and not have that debt chase them, because there's ways to kind of, help them with that transition, right? There's a whole list of things that you can help them with.
Mm.
And you've built an alliance of people throughout the country who are good, right? And if they're not good, you're not going to refer to them anymore,
Mm.
right? But I think trust builds more deals than anything. Like, do you think that that's important? Like in this year where there's tons of variables in the market, right? People are, they don't know which way interest rates are going. They don't know which way the economy's going. They don't know if the war will expand wherever it is, right? How do you kind of find sense of the markets that you're operating in? Because they're always kind of moving.
Yeah. So for me, as far as just making sense of the markets, because we're in a bunch of different markets now, we do a lot of virtual wholesaling. It's really just doing the research and then just being conservative on the numbers, making sure we're getting a good deal, knowing what investors are willing to pay. And then if I'm not aware it's a new market, I'm just trying to be a little more conservative, because I don't want to make a promise to a seller that we're going to be able to help them move the deal and, what we're going to be able to help them and then not be able to come through. That's literally my least favorite part of the business, is not being able to perform and not be able to do what I said I'm going to do. So I really just come in a little, even just more conservative, lower on the numbers, just so I can, I'm more confident I can get a deal done. Just doing that extra due diligence and research really helps.
Well, I think that's refreshing as opposed to a typical real estate agent that says, "Yeah, just sign them at whatever price they said they're happy with selling," and then bring them down to reality after about a month or two of uncertainty. You know?
Yeah. Well, I don't know who teaches that. I mean, if a lot of the stuff real estate agents are taught, nothing against real estate agents, I know some great ones. I have a lot of close friends that are real estate agents, but a lot of the stuff that it's just crazy. Like, what, you're just going to kill all rapport with someone. So like, lie to them, and then, hopefully they'll realize you were lying and that they can't get that number. And then hopefully they still want to work with you and they'll come down. Like, it just doesn't make sense. So, I mean, just, you're doing them a disservice. You're doing yourself a disservice, because you're wasting months of your time with no guarantee they're going to want to sign an extension. And it just looks bad for you. And it looks, it's awful for them, especially if they need to sell on like a timeline and like they need to move or they're starting to make plans or whatever. It's, I mean, just be honest. I mean, it's really that simple, and you'll get a lot better results.
Right. And I mean, there's a simplicity, there's a value, there's actually a cost, maybe a heavier cost to working directly with a direct buyer like us. However, that peace of mind, the fact that, I don't have to worry about doing an open house anymore, because, agents have lied about doing them.
Mm.
Right. I could just say, here's the number. Let's honor this number. It won't change because the conditions won't change until now, from now to closing table. Right. And if anything does change, we will let you know, but most likely they won't. Right.
Right.
So framing things properly, like, I think that's where you bring the relatability quotient higher. Right. Talk about how, not only like service past the contract, all the way to the closing and afterwards. Like, talk about how important it is to follow up with our clients.
Yeah, I think it's huge. Especially there's a lot of uncertainty for the people, and especially if they've had a bad experience with a wholesaler or real estate agent or another buyer in the past. Just give them a call. Once or twice a week. Just let them know, hey, here's where we're at. Everything's still on track. If you have nothing new to say, I think that's huge. It helps you know that everything's still good. There, a lot of people worried about them going behind your back and doing something else, but it's a lot less likely to happen if you're talking to them frequently and keeping them updated, even if it's just something very simple. Just let them know, hey, I talked to title. They still need this from you. My job too is I try to make sure, I try to help the title company and make sure everything's running smoothly, because there's nothing worse than having a deal, thinking, already counting your chickens before they're hatched. And then you get to a couple days before closing and you find out title doesn't have any of the stuff they need, and they haven't been to get a hold of them or any of that stuff. You just find out you're not on track to close. So really just staying on top of it. I follow up with title company, ask, how can I help you? Just try to take ownership. I don't try to, I do, but I recommend everybody else takes ownership of the deal and just every aspect of it. Even if it's not your job. I hate when people say it's not my job. Like, it's all your job. I mean, it's, if you want to get the deal done, if you want to get paid, if you want to, build longevity and keep going, like it's all your job. Take ownership of everything, even if it's not your job. Just find ways to help and add value. And then everyone's going to appreciate it. The seller's going to appreciate it and probably get a good review out of it. Title's going to appreciate it. They're going to want to put your deals to the top of the ones they're going to work with, as opposed to like a lot of wholesalers. It's like, they don't want to deal with them. That's why a lot of title companies don't like to deal with wholesalers, because the transactions are usually more complicated and there's a bunch more parties they have to chase around. So anything you can do. And that's been huge for me, just building good relationships with title companies and going the extra mile and trying to take ownership of the whole deal.
No, I relate to it so much in my own work, right? It's, hey, I shouldn't be doing this, but I'll do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't be reminding you every day, but I'll do it with kindness, politely. I'll do an
Mm-hmm.
email. And then the following day, I'll email a few more people. And then I'll do a call. And if I have to visit, I'm happy to visit the office just to make sure the file advances. Because this closing matters, not just to you, not to your this next assignment fee, but like you said, that seller review,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because that's the best advertising you can do. It's not, I mean, obviously we can pay for leads, we can pay for clicks and all that good stuff, but the organic traffic is what really counts, right? That's what's going to keep us in business is being, hey, go to Kai. So call him when you're ready to sell your house. When you're in a bad situation, he understands you and he has connections throughout the country to help you. So, building yourself to that authority level. I mean, 3 years, right? You've been in this business three
Yeah.
years, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have claimed to be in this business a lot longer and are a lot less accomplished. It's all about consistency, and you're at it. So that's a great lesson to a lot of people coming up, or who have been kind of by the wayside on the bench, right? There are deals to be had, right? I mean, are there, right?
100%. Yeah. No, there's plenty of deals. I mean, there's so many homes in the U.S. There's people constantly moving. There's life. I mean, the only thing constant in life is change. So people are always going through changes. It could be something as simple as they're downsizing. Their kids moved out. They're empty nesters. They want to move. It could be they're going through a divorce. It could be they're going through foreclosure, especially now with how expensive everything is, and people are already tapped out and having a hard time. And again, it just goes back to being empathetic when you talk to people. I feel like people miss a lot of deals too. They're like, they try, like, oh, this doesn't work. But, maybe you could have done better on the call. Go back, listen to your recordings, go back and practice, get reps in, talk to other people, find different strategies, get creative. Because there's definitely deals to be had, but you have to be persistent. You have to work hard, and you gotta be willing to hustle.
No, right. I mean, that's everything. I mean, you build positive routines, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cold plunges, 75 hard, like consistently, not just once. Talk about how that builds you that slight edge over your competition.
Yeah, I think it's huge. I mean, it helps me like in all areas, not just business, but it's just doing the shit you don't want to do, and like you don't feel like doing, and just knowing you are not your mind, you're not your thoughts. You're not just the random thoughts that pop in your head throughout the day. Most of those thoughts are put there from someone else, whether it's media, your parents, teachers, whoever, they're just there. But it's not who you are. Just know that you can control your brain and that you're more than the brain. You're you. I believe, we all have souls, but I believe you can control your brain, but being like, oh, I don't feel like it, and just not operating off of emotions, but operating off of the decisions that you make. I think it's just huge.
Oh, that's beautiful. I mean, I think that coming from a person who's been in periods of really deep depression, I think, knowing that you are not your thoughts, building your self-awareness kind of ladder so that, you separate the identity from self, right? And that you are your actions. You're defined by what you do, not what's happened,
Mm,
right?
that's
So,
good.
we dig into like these stoicism ideas, all these philosophies, and sometimes even the Bible for just great applicable philosophy, right? And how to believe in ourselves, right? I mean, where does like faith take you, right? When you're not feeling your best, like how does it take you out of the dark place and back into the light?
Yeah, I think it's everything for me. I mean, especially when I'm going through it, sometimes you go through it, especially when you start to think it's all you and you're relying on yourself and that you're the creator of everything and you the master of it all. I feel like you get humbled, at least I do. It just kind of takes you back and just knowing it's not all on you, because I feel like that's a lot of times when I do get burnt out and I get starting to slip back in depression and just stop doing my habits first. And then it's always slippery slope. You stop another habit. And then all of a sudden you're wondering why you're not feeling good. But you haven't been working out, you've been eating like shit, and you haven't been focused on growing, and you're gonna do worse. Just know that, like, you're always either doing better or doing worse. This is a big thing for me. But for me, yeah, just having the faith, just knowing that, like, it's not all of me. God's got this. I know I'm following the right path. I know I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I can control what I can control, and I can do what I can do. And then he's going to handle the rest. All the stuff in the background that you don't see, all the variables, like the invisible variables that you don't see, the people talking about you behind your back, the connections you don't know are being made, the people spreading a good word about you. It's crazy. I mean, you can't do it all yourself, and just knowing there's a higher power, I feel like you have to be kind of blind, not to see that there is. I mean, everyone believes in laws like gravity and, all these other laws, and there's there's laws in the world. There has to be a lawmaker. So I think just knowing that it's there, and whatever you believe in, just know there's always something bigger than you, and it's not all up to you. So if you do the right things and keep doing the right things are gonna work out for you.
Absolutely. And that supreme commander helps us find those solutions, right? When we have those problems and you're like, hey, I'm working on this. Can you help me out? Right. And I wanted to share a scripture that kind of relevant to what we do. This is from Matthew, chapter 7, verse 7 to 8. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be open to you. For everyone who asks and the one who seeks finds, and to the one who knocks it will be open. Right? That's like the door knocking, right? Prospecting, right? That's like, talk about the importance of consistent prospecting. What's the minimum that someone should be prospecting a day?
I think 2 hours. I mean, if you don't have the 2 hours, really, I mean, an hour, like whatever you can do. But I think it's the most important thing is to make it a habit and just do it every day. Because one thing we talk about a lot in my group syndicate, and I talk to people in general, is when you stop making calls. I've been making calls since I was 18 years old, like 14 years. So yeah, I've been making calls, and like even if like I go on vacation or whatever, I take the weekend off. Sometimes it can just be a couple of days. Like making calls again, I dread it every time. I get like this fear response. It's weird. Like I know I have nothing to be anxious about. I've done it literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions of times. Like I've made so many calls, and it's like, but it's still like you get this call reluctance, and you just don't want to make the call for some reason. But every time I do it, it's never as bad as I think it's going to be. And it's so much easier once you make it a habit. And like when you do it consistently day after day, you do it for a week, do it for 2 weeks, like by week 3, it's going to be effortless almost. I mean, it still sucks. No one likes making the calls. No one likes prospecting. So another thing I like to remind myself, but it's way easier than if you make it a habit. Another thing I like to remind myself is just knowing that, if you're not where you want to be, if like your finances aren't good right now, if you look back at your last 60, 90 days of prospecting, it's going to tell you why. Guaranteed, just you weren't doing the work and you weren't prospecting consistently. And if you don't want to be there still, or be in the worst position 60 to 90 days, start doing it today, and then do it every day for 60, 90 days, and just watch how your life changes.
Wow. I mean, it's like farming. You have to water your garden. You can't just plant it once and then hope that something will come out of it, right? I mean, you've created a farming system, a CRM. Share with the audience like what that means and how they can help like manage someone's business better.
Yeah, 100%. So I have a system which includes a CRM. It's called Investor Plug, and really I built it for myself. My background is doing marketing for my businesses and doing it for car dealerships and building systems, doing marketing. And I've tried pretty much every CRM under the sun. I've tried them all, and there's always one thing I didn't like or dislike. Eventually I found Go High Level, and it was a game changer. I'm like, oh, it's literally replaced. I tried it once when it first came out. Didn't like it. I'm like, it's okay. And then they just constantly make updates and do so many cool things with it. It's like an open canvas. It's kind of like WordPress. So if you know how to use WordPress, you can build websites. If someone doesn't know how to use WordPress, they're not going to make a very good or functional website. But you can just build whatever you want there. So I ended up building my own CRM just because I couldn't find one that did everything I wanted to, and instantly replaced like 50 different, probably 50 is an exaggeration, but at least 20 different like monthly subscriptions I was paying with like Calendly and website builders and all this stuff, and had it one thing, built it for myself, kept adding, connected other things to it. Now we even have OpenAI, ChatGPT-4 connected to it, but just kept building and growing. And, some people around me, wanted to start using it too. They did too. And it's just grown organically. So yeah, it's pretty cool when you build something for yourself and it works really well, and you see other people getting the same results, and they're saying the same things. I'm like, oh, that's why I built this thing. That's pretty cool that they feel the same way about it.
Well, that's good. I mean, there's so much confusion when it comes to tools for this business, right? There's a lot of buzz, and sometimes the people who are influential and have tons of followers or big following say, oh, I use this or we use this. I'm like, but do you? Like they have a team that does everything, right? So they smile and move on, right? But if something's clunky, you won't use it. And then, as small entrepreneurs who want to be bigger entrepreneurs, you have to be careful what your monthly spend is on your tools.
Yeah,
right?
it adds up.
It does add up, right? If you take all the different tools that we could use and put them all together, that could be over $1,000 a month, right?
Mm.
And then you have it all put together for like two.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah, then we do custom builds too. So I think one of the big things too is, like you said, sounds like they jump on a new system, a new shiny object, and then they have to relearn the whole thing. It's almost like learning a language. So you're like starting from scratch. You expect your whole team to do that when they're all accustomed to doing things a certain way. So what we do is we come in, we build it custom, like based on what you're doing, based on how your team works and what your workflows are, how you do things. So it works with you as opposed to you having to work for it.
no, that's what I'm gonna have you doing with me. Again, like you said, because you have patience, because you're good at it over the next couple of weeks, to capture not just the leads, but the person, to keep track of the notes from the call, right? Because that's important, right? To be able to pull that up. I mean, as you said, you're calling people all over the country. And when you need to know that information quickly, or what was said in the last conversation, so you can pick up, the relay race where you left off.
100%. Yeah, I don't know how people operate without them. I mean, there's so many free CRMs, things out there. People that work off spreadsheets, just, I don't get it. It's like, I did it when I first started because I didn't know a better way. But like nowadays, there's so many free options of things. Just have something. Whatever, the best one's the one that you use, but just have something, because you're not going to be able to keep track of people. I've had people argue with me about this, but you can't run a real business and without keeping track of what's going on. Or you're just not talking to enough people, because like, I don't remember conversations I had yesterday sometimes. And like, if I talk to enough people, I'm like, they blend together, and I'm like, was it this person or that person? And having those notes, and I record all my calls too, so I can go back and listen to it again, and just to make sure, because sometimes I'm not the best note taker. But yeah, having those notes, having those things to go back and be there, because to the customer, you're the only person they talk to. Maybe not, if they're filling out online forms, but you're one of the few conversations they had as opposed to the hundreds you should be having every day.
Oh yeah, and the fact that you called again.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that you didn't just call once when they yelled at you, because maybe they just did have a bad day and it wasn't your fault.
Yeah, 100%.
So where do you see what you're doing in your movement going forward the next 3 years?
I think just to focus on the same things. I think one thing we all struggle with is that shiny object syndrome as entrepreneurs. So for me, I feel like I finally have the right vehicles. I know what I'm working on, I know what I'm growing. But for me, yeah, it's just growing the wholesale business as far as we can take it. And then, growing the CRM as far as we can take it. Really excited about that now, because I guess it's my shiny objects. It's something we've been working on for 3 years, but it's, I'm still new and adding new things and updating it. So, we just launched it. So it's exciting for me again, but also the syndicate and just trying to grow that and help other people. So keep doing more and keep getting better.
I love it. And then how do you grow from hosting these syndicate events?
Yeah, really, it's for me, like, it helps me a lot, because I never try to make it the Kai show, or, I don't want to hear myself talk all the time, because I hear that all day in my head. So, I love to hear other people's perspectives on things. I think the cool thing about our groups and our meetups and our masterminds, we just have such a diverse group of people and like so much different experience. So like a big thing would be, we have people there that used to work for a title company, that one still does, and then they transitioned to wholesaling. So it's like, cool, they know a bunch of stuff I don't know. And just having that, like we talked about earlier, just have that mindset, there's still so much to learn. We have my friend Ashley Rivera, who does, builds homes from scratch. And I've never done that. So it's very cool to know like what she looks for in deals. And we bring on a lot of expert guest speakers and stuff too. And I just get to learn from them. So for me, it's just a great opportunity to learn. Another cool thing we do is, say, like we said, there's so many different things out there. There's different people selling leads. There's different marketing. Somebody can try something and report back to the group like, hey, this is working pretty well for me, or stay away from this one. It's a scam. And that just saves me so much time, money, and energy by not having to do them all and try them all myself.
Right. And then you paid the path to bring good people to your events.
Mm-hmm.
And because one of your friends will whisper in your ear and be like, not that one, please.
Yeah.
Right? That'll save you a lot of time, headache, and effort. Because if you bring people under your tent, like, not that you have to vouch for them, but that for the most part should be good people. And how does that feel to be able to help someone, get to their first deal?
It's cool. It's my favorite thing. Yeah, my favorite thing, it's still one of my favorite things, is closing my own deals. I mean, you get the money, it's a rush. I mean, I don't think the rush ever goes away. It's definitely one of my favorite things in the world, closing deals and making it happen. And for me, it's just like making money out of nothing, because literally nothing but a phone system. I didn't go to a job and collect a check and hate my life for a week. I literally just made it from, an idea I had and put an action behind that idea. So definitely the coolest thing that to me, like, was even cooler, I didn't realize until we started doing it, was helping other people get there. We have a guy, Caleb, Allen, and his son, Cannon. They literally were working, they're doing this part-time. In 90 days, they made over 90K. No longer, he's in it full-time now. He's doing a bunch of flips and moving on and doing a bunch of bigger, better things. He's still wholesaling a bunch too. But it's just so cool to see people like make that transition and knowing like I played a small part in helping them do that.
That's inspiring. Not only that it works, right? That it's easy to follow toolkit, that, you're empowering people to have freedom and more time with their families. Like in a time when people are kind of in a job that they may not like, right? Knowing that, they can visit you, join your community, go to one of your events, and then, earn enough money, not just to pay the bills, but to put something in savings, build something for the future. And you did that, right? Wow. So tell everyone how to find you online and how to best connect with your communities.
Yeah, that was a great question. Yeah, so if you just type in my name, Kai, so it's KY, my last name's Logue, Logue, everywhere on social. And yeah, usually Facebook I'm most active on. And if you DM me on there, I'll respond to you. And we have a Facebook group on there, Real Estate Wholesaling Syndicate. And then our new website, we just completely redid it. It's wholesalingsyndicate.com. So if you go to wholesalingsyndicate.com, you find our podcast, all the links to that, a bunch of blog posts, trainings, a bunch of cool stuff on there. So yeah, and the podcast is Real Estate Wholesaling Syndicate. So if you guys looking for more episodes like the one me and Demetri just did here, definitely come and check ours out as well.
No, lovely to have you here. And then, talk about your podcasting journey. Like, what inspired you to start it? And when did you know that you kind of got into your groove?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it was actually my friend Jonathan Laudermilk. We met through another mastermind. And yeah, I forget, he said something, he just pushed me to do it. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, I want to do one. I think I like made an offhand comment. Like, oh yeah, I want to start doing it at some point. Do it now. So I just, what are you waiting for? Just do it. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, yeah, you're right. And then I like, it's another thing I like about having good people around me and have the mastermind is like having people call you out, just do it, It's really easy to lie to yourself, but yeah, I just did it and it's been good. And yeah, so we have the other podcast is called ODAT, One Day at a Time. It's more about mindset and people sharing their stories and how they've overcome tough circumstances and changed their lives around. So I did that one. I still do that one. We're about 90 episodes. I think we're close to 100 now. So I did that for quite a while. And the first ones, looking back, they're awful. I think anything you look at, if you look back like a year and sometimes a couple of months later, it's like, wow, that sucked. But you just know that you get better over time. But like at the time, it's the best you can do. And you think it's great. You think this is going to blow up. This is huge, but there's knowing that like the small incremental changes, you just keep getting better. And I feel like I'm just starting to hit my groove now, to be honest. And, between ODAT and then all the podcasts I've been on and, probably like about 200 between my two podcasts and me and other people's podcasts. I feel like just now I'm just kind of becoming a better interviewer and starting to actually feel a little more comfortable with it.
No, I love it. And I serve the local group named ODAT, One Day at a Time, that help recovering homeless and drug addicted people find their way back. You wear it not just on your arm, but you wear it in your life. Mm-hmm. And so that, takes a lot of dedication that most people don't have. Right. And, on those days when you don't feel it, that you lead a community. So you have that duty to serve. Right. That's another kind of push behind you to say, all right, get up and get going because others are counting on you to lead.
100%. Yeah, it's definitely, it's pressure that comes with it, but it's good pressure too that helps push you forward.
Well, Kai, I really want to thank you for your time today. Any kind of takeaway lesson or insight or just anything you want to share with the audience before we go?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Thank you again for having me on. But yeah, the one thing I love to, we were just talking about it. So that's one of my favorite things to share with people is that having that one day at a time mindset. For me, my whole life changed when I started to take my life one day at a time and just realizing, you can't change the past. You can't really control the future. The only way you can influence it is just by focusing on today. And I believe if you just focus on winning today, tomorrow's going to take care of itself. And I think some of the best ways to do that are like having a power list, having goals, and just taking action. So I recommend checking out the Andy Frisella podcast who talks about power lists. If you're not already implementing them, that's been a game changer for me. But yeah, just focus on today. It's it's a lot of anxiety and stress, focusing on the past and the future all the time. But if you just focus on today, it's a lot more manageable, and it's how shit gets done.
Well, you and Andy are both real AF, so.
I appreciate you saying that, man.
Really appreciate you being on the show, and I look forward to having you on in the future.
Yeah, I'd love to come on again. Yeah, thanks again for having me, man. This is great.
Do you have any events coming up this season that you'd like to promote?
So probably May. We're still working on a day. We're trying to do one into May, but it's creeping up on us. So we have to push to June. We're just trying to find a venue. Might just go back to our old venue, but we're working on it. But yeah, hopefully soon we'll have one.
I look forward to going to a future event of yours because they're always great.
I appreciate you saying that, man. Yeah, glad to have you.
Being on the show and on continued success in everything you do.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you for all that you do. And yeah, I love the podcast, man. Keep going, keep doing the work, and keep helping people.
Thanks, brother. Keep serving.